Hello and welcome everybody to the second episode of No Cap, a sports talk television show by the students of UNC for the students of UNC. I'm your host, Reese Conkle. I'm joined today by my partners in crime. I got Justine Chavez here on my left, and unfortunately Jeremy Beadling here in front of me. Guys, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great.
We're good.
Why is that? Do you care to elaborate?
We're officially tied at the top of the NFC East.
Well,
Cowboys
the Cowboys actually
the Cowboys
beat
have
the
advantage.
Eagles.
Yeah, the Cowboys have the advantage.
What was
with
the score of
tiebreaker.
that game, Justine? Can you remember?
37-10.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that means the Cowboys have the lead in the division. We're going to move quickly into our NFL segment here. We're going to start, we're going to start with the Monday night game, 49ers at Seahawks. Seahawks at 49ers, the 8-0 49ers, now the 8-1 49ers. Justine, I want to pass this off to you because I remember last week you sat right there in that chair on Tuesday and you told us that the 49ers would be 8-1 whenever we sat down to record.
Can I just say I was right?
How did the game play out the way you expected it to? Like, obviously you were the one that was on this early, so
right.
Relative to your expectations, how did things play out?
Yeah, I mean, one for a Monday night game, especially like a division game, I think it was like super exciting, and it does come down to a field goal, but I just knew that the 49ers, were wherever we played in San Francisco or in Seattle, were not going to be able to beat Russell Wilson and Seahawks.
Is that because you have a lack of faith in is it the 49ers as a whole, or is it one man in particular?
I just think it
Jimmy
comes
G.
down. Well, no, I think it just comes down to Russell Wilson.
He's that good?
He is.
Is he the best quarterback in football right now? Is that a stretch?
He's a top 3. For sure.
He's top 2,
right
and he
behind,
might not be 2.
Right behind Lamar Jackson.
This guy. What did he say last week? That was so crazy about Lamar Jackson? What did
He's
you say?
a top 3 quarterback.
No, he said he was number 1.
Is that what he said? Jeez.
Yeah.
We might need to sub one of y'all in right now for this guy. But yeah, is Russell Wilson your MVP at this point in the year?
At the moment, no.
I think I know who.
I'm
who
you're gonna pick.
I'm still on the Lamar Jackson train. I mean, did y'all see that run? I mean,
the B button. Hit the B button.
Obviously, Russell Wilson, he had a pretty decent game last night, but looking in the first half, they had some struggles.
Yeah.
I mean, given 49ers have one of the best defenses in the league.
The best front four in the NFL.
Oh,
yeah. No doubt about
easily. Looking at my sheet right now, Russell Wilson sacked 5 times, loss of 43 yards. Also, that crucial late game interception that he's extremely lucky that the 49ers missed that field goal.
Yeah.
But I mean, that interception really. I mean, I know it's only his 3rd interception on the year, but that interception really kind of like took some steam off of me for the Russell Wilson train, just because he had been struggling all night. He's picking it up, about to win the game, and that was just that was a very underthrown, horrible ball that he threw on that interception.
I'll tell you this, and I was thinking about this on the way over. Look, I think the world of Russell Wilson. I go back and forth every week on who the best quarterback in football is. Is it Patrick Mahomes? Is it Russell Wilson?
Is it Lamar Jackson?
No, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. I would have told you Aaron Rodgers 3 years ago, no doubt. Aaron Rodgers is the best, most talented quarterback I've ever seen. He's not quite been the same guy the past couple of years.
I just can't get off his
He's so good. He's still great. Don't get me wrong. But Russell Wilson has the reputation of like this crunch time killer, which he is. It's deserved. But I thought about he's thrown the most back-breaking interception in NFL history. I don't remember what the number of the Super Bowl was, but against the Patriots. Obviously, everybody knows the Malcolm Butler play where Marshawn, they didn't give the ball to Marshawn. And then he threw that one, and I'm like, other quarterbacks would have gotten killed if they threw those picks. Now, obviously, his body of work outweighs those hiccups, but I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. I think maybe my greatest takeaway from this game is thank God it wasn't a tie.
Oh.
If he would have shanked that field goal at the end, we'd be sitting here talking about a tie, and that's just no fun whatsoever. But moving on, we're going to get into the other primetime game of the week. My Dallas Cowboys and Justine's Dallas Cowboys losing at home to the Vikings 28-24. Dak Prescott goes for 397 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins, I believe, threw for 220 and 2 scores.
If only he would have had 400, you know? That 4th and 2, that last 3 yards, if only.
Dalvin Cook led the Vikings in rushing and receiving. The one note that I have down here, and it's always been the thing with the Cowboys for the last decade, issues with their coaching staff. One man in particular. Now, I want to go behind enemy lines with Jeremy here and talk about how you feel as an Eagles fan. Yes, he's an Eagles fan. It is unfortunate. how you feel about Jason Garrett.
See, and I think the biggest struggle and the biggest difference I've seen between our head coaches, Doug Peterson,
who's awesome, by the way. Doug Peterson is terrific.
I can attest to that. He is pretty awesome. Doug Peterson and Jason Garrett is that a lot of the times, kind of like you were talking about last week, one of the biggest things for NFL or even just any football head coach is adapting to your players and adapting to situations. And Jason Garrett has repeatedly not done that.
You're going
to give me
right.
I mean, looking at the numbers right here, Amari Cooper, 147 yards. He is on fire, but instead you decide to go to Ezekiel Elliott, who obviously one of the cornerstones of your offense, but on the night only had 47 rushing yards.
On 20 attempts.
And twice in a row you're going to run the same play.
They went to Zeke 3 times at the end. Look,
to the same stacked box.
I'm sorry to hijack your point here, Jeremy, but I've got a lot to say on this matter. Before the season got started, the entire conversation around the Cowboys throughout training camp is where's Ezekiel Elliott? When is he going to get signed? Is he going to get signed?
Right.
I'm playing the fiddle for you, Reese.
I warned people, Justine, I don't know how you felt about this. We can talk about that here in just a second. I warned people about the pitfalls of investing these kind of resources in a running back. Drafting him top 5. One is, I think, is a mistake. Zeke's a stud. I think this is not a critique on Ezekiel Elliott, the football player. It's about team building and healthy team building. And when you invest a top 5 pick in a running back, your coach and your ownership consistently refers to him as the identity of your team. And then you pay him $90 million, which, again, I think is a mistake. You feel the need to force him into a game plan, even if that's not the right call for your team.
Right.
That was nothing. This game embodied that more than anything. Aside from Jason Garrett's situational mishaps, like kicking a field goal on the first drive, not going for it down one score with 6, I think it was like 7 minutes left in the game.
Right.
Telling Tavon Austin to call for a fair catch.
That one I can't.
As if you're.
That's literally what he was put on the team to do.
Is to return punts, and he had all the room in the world. And he waited for a fair catch because he was instructed to do so, because they think their odds are better at a Hail Mary than giving one of the best returnmen in the league a lot of room to work with. That's their logic.
Which is insane to me.
It's ridiculous. But whenever you make your identity your running back, you're doing it incorrectly. And 3 straight times, 2nd and 2, 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, they try to go to Zeke. Zeke is a terrific between the tackles runner. He's not an in-space player. He's not a dynamic pass catcher, and he never has been.
Especially when you have 2 wide receivers, both with over 100 yards in the game.
Gallup was great too.
No, yeah. Well, I'm not even talking about Gallup. Randall Cobb
had
106 yards.
They all 3 were awesome.
Amari Cooper 147, and throughout that drive before they handed the ball to Zeke,
it was the
march. Vikings had no answer for the Cowboys passing attack. I mean, Amari Cooper was running his routes on will, doing whatever he wanted against those cornerbacks. And all of a sudden you decide, hey, we're going to pull back. We're not going to give Amari Cooper the ball anymore. We're going to focus on Zeke. And I think, especially with who you're, going back to what I was talking about, adapting to situations, adapting to what's going on in the game, the Vikings defense, their front 4 and their running defense was their best part of their defense that game.
Yeah.
Right.
And
it just doesn't make sense, though. Like, when you have Dak play a game like this, and
he's
just literally lighting up their secondary, and then you're going to just go back to Zeke, and we're going to run every single play.
Dak played one of the best games by a quarterback in the NFL this season. If you're into next-gen stats, that's what those would tell you. And they squandered the opportunity to win that game at home against a good team, maybe not a great team in Minnesota.
That should have been a win, though.
It absolutely should have been. That's what I'm saying. Everything, when you get that kind of game from your quarterback, and look, not much has gone right about the Cowboys this year. Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper and Gallup, I think you could probably throw in there too,
right,
have all grown, and they've taken a step, and that's something to be excited about. But this team can't get out of their own way, whether it's coaching mistakes, they don't execute properly, penalties, silly things. They can't get out of their own way. Their roster looks great, but they're 5-4, and that's what it is. They're in a dogfight. Look, Jeremy, and I love to give you a hard time. I don't think the Eagles are a very good team.
They're not.
And they're in a dogfight with the Eagles for the NFC
And that's
East.
a problem.
And that's a huge problem. And I think, barring a miracle run to an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl, I don't think Jason Garrett is back next year. Fingers crossed, knock on wood 3 times. But sticking with NFC playoff contenders, we're going to move on to Packers-Panthers. when Cam Newton went down, I think a lot of people wrote the Panthers off, and rightfully so. Not that Cam was playing particularly well. He hasn't played very well in really 2 or 3 years. But when Kyle Allen stepped in, I believe they won their next 3 or 4 games. And they were at 5-3 heading into this game at Lambeau Field against the Packers. They come up short on a goal line stand. Christian McCaffrey on the final play of the game literally gets stopped inches short of the goal line. That would have given the Panthers a chance to go for 2 and tie the game. Do you believe in the Panthers? Do you take them seriously with Kyle Allen quarterbacking that team, or is that a no-go for you?
So I'm gonna say yes and no. So yes, I do think the Panthers are a good football team. I think that they're able to kind of make some noise, get some wins. Probably get to 500. Do I think that they're gonna be in the playoffs? No. I don't think that. I mean,
NFC's got too many teams.
Yeah,
it's way too crowded.
Yeah.
Just looking at the NFC playoff picture right now, you have 2 teams that would be leading in the NFC East right now, with the Seahawks and the Vikings taking up those 2 wild card spots.
Right.
And I don't really see either one of those teams relinquishing it. I mean, I even see maybe if the Seahawks come on strong towards the end of the season, 49ers maybe regress a little bit, them flip-flopping, and the 49ers getting that wild card spot, and the Seahawks winning the NFC East. But going back to the Panthers, like I said, barring a magical run where they win out the rest of their games, I don't see them making the playoffs.
How good are the Packers, Justine? I know you just kicked for Aaron Rodgers as the best quarterback.
It's hard because I just have a special spot. Even though that what he does to the Cowboys, I just have a special spot.
I'm the same way. I love Aaron Rodgers.
I just love him. He's my favorite quarterback in the league.
I don't disagree with that.
I mean,
are they Super Bowl good? Do you think they have a complete enough team to win a Super Bowl? Because
with the talent in the NFC, no.
I have my doubts about the Packers as much as I love Aaron Rodgers.
But I just,
that's why I think home field is so significant for them, especially because you get the winter months and playing in Lambeau is just.
Aaron Rodgers does what he does best.
Just watching that game, I feel like football's back. I mean, it's been back for 8 weeks, but once you see your first snow game of the year, you're like, oh, this is football.
This is primetime football season right now.
And I mean, I know y'all aren't as high on the Packers as I am at the moment, but here's the reason why. Aaron Rodgers, he's gonna give you some good games, especially playoff time. He's not.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna crush under pressure. And
he's certainly not.
The difference between this Packers team and Packers team of the past is this Packers team has a defense. They have the Smith brothers. They're not brothers, but the 2 D linemen, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, coming off the edges, just wreaking havoc every single game. In the back end, they're not too bad either. They got Desmond King and Jair Alexander, who are both having amazing years. So, I mean, and the old cliche, defense travels.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
they might not have to.
I really do think come playoff time, the Packers are going to be a team that some of these higher seeds in the NFC, the Saints, the Seahawks, Vikings, the 49ers, they're going to give them some problems.
Lastly, on that game, as a Cowboys fan, Aaron Rodgers is the last man you want to see coming into your building.
That's your daddy.
Come playoff time.
Literally.
Anyway, we're gonna shift gears here from playoff contenders to playoff pretenders, and just talk for a minute about the St. Louis Rams. That's a Nick. The Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Rams. They come up short against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are oddly resurgent after the trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick, but this is more about the Rams and their shortcomings.
Defense travels.
Team that was in the Super Bowl last year, your NFC representative in the Super Bowl, they fall to 5-4. Jared Goff, another really poor showing. It's been about a full 16 games worth of Jared Goff not playing very well.
Right.
And Sean McVay's brilliance seems to be undone. Their offensive line can't play. Their running back that they paid a lot of money, another reason why it's a bad idea, is breaking down. Nothing's going right for the Rams. Are they done?
Yeah.
I think so too.
They're frauds.
I'd like to say no, but I don't know. I mean, it's just crazy. The kind of Jekyll and Hyde?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the kind of Jekyll and Hyde season that they've had. Because, I mean, obviously you've been hindered. Last year, Todd Gurley was the focus point of your offense. On Sunday, he only had 12 carries. 12.
Yeah, he can't handle any sort of workload anymore.
So,
his knees are falling apart.
The load management is just killing them with Todd Gurley. And they don't have...
they can't block anybody.
They don't have the running game that they had last year. And I think it's kind of really... just showed Jared Goff of like the quarterback that he is. You know, like last year they were like, oh, he really turned the corner. He's off to an MVP season last year, takes his team to the Super Bowl. But you think, was that Jared Goff, or was that the fact that they had Todd Gurley running the ball? Because I mean, y'all being Cowboys fans, y'all know, y'all saw the game between the Rams and the Cowboys last year in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Goff really didn't win that game for him. I don't
No,
think
he did not play well at all.
It was definitely the
C.J. freaking Anderson.
yeah,
ran
C.J.
all over us.
the meatball, C.J. Anderson
Literally.
and Todd Gurley, and you got to think. I mean, they gave up all that equity to go out and get Jalen Ramsey. Was that even worth it?
No, they don't have a first round pick for 5 years. But that's all we have for our NFC playoff picture. We're going to kick it over right now to Gavin Dunaway as he has a quick update on UNT sports. We'll be right back in just a second.
Here we go. Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. Going to get wet. All right, here we go. Oh, no. Oh, look at the rain. Okay, quick. Oh, yeah. Yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Welcome back, everyone, to another installment of the Scrappy Cap, where we catch you up on the latest in UNT athletics. To get us started, let's talk about the women's basketball team. After losing their opening game last Thursday, the Mean Green had a dominant 67-31 win over Alcorn State last night. Now, that win came with a broken record for the fewest points allowed in a game in the program's history. The previous record was a game back in 2006, where only 33 points were allowed by UNT. Some key players from that game include Anisha George and Destiny McDowell. George put up 18 points and grabbed 12 rebounds for a double-double, while McDowell scored 14 points and grabbed 9 boards. This Friday, they'll be back in the Super Pit against UT Arlington at 7 p.m. Moving on, the football team lost a big CUSA matchup against Louisiana Tech last Saturday with a final score of 52-17. Even worse for the team, star quarterback Mason Fine was knocked out of the game just before halftime with a potential concussion. After Fine's injury, Jason Bean came into the game at quarterback and completed 12 of 16 passes, but also committed 4 turnovers. Although this season has not been the greatest for the team, they still have a chance to tie for first place at the top of the conference if certain matchups fall into place. Namely, they need to win their final 2 games against Rice and UAB. They do have a bye this week and will be in Houston to take on Rice next Saturday. Another tough loss for UNT Athletics came last Friday for the men's basketball team. They played the nationally ranked Virginia Commonwealth squad and fell in a very close 59-56 game. For VCU, they were able to shoot about 48% from the field in the first half, which helped them to create a 10-point gap. However, their field goal percentage dropped to just 26% after the Mean Green stepped up defensively. Ultimately, for the Mean Green, it was their rough start to the game that played a huge role in their close loss. Tonight, the men's team will take on Arkansas in Fayetteville at 7 p.m. Finally, to end our Scrappy Cap, we'll talk about North Texas Soccer, your Conference USA champions. They beat Florida Atlantic 5-2 in the CUSA Championship last Sunday. With this championship, the program now bolsters its 3rd straight league tournament title and 16 total conference titles. The team will now move on to the NCAA tournament this Friday and take on the Arkansas Razorbacks, who are ranked 6th in the nation. Last year, the Mean Green lost to Texas A&M in the first round, so they'll definitely be looking to make it beyond that performance. Regardless, that's all I have for you now. Thanks for joining me for your weekly Scrappy Cap.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to No Cap. We're tagging in Van for this. We're going to talk about college football here.
Yeah.
And obviously, the big game this weekend, game of the year, LSU
Go Tigers.
visits Alabama and comes out with a win against Tua and the boys. Van, I know you're an Alabama fan, so how are you feeling after that one?
If they were going to lose, I'm good with that type of loss. What was it, like 46-41?
46-41, I
Bet
believe,
the
is the
over,
final.
kids.
We did say that last
Always
week.
bet the over. Life's too short.
It was a 5-point game. Honestly, if they were going to lose like that, I'm good with that type of loss. Tua, he was like 21 for 40, something like that.
He struggled in the first half, but
like,
he really came on in the second half.
He had surgery like
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, they were doing a little graphic.
So, I mean, like, I take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, guys like Najee Harris, who stud, Jerry Jeudy, kind of underperformed a little bit, but it was a tough matchup, obviously, with that great secondary. Devonta Smith played really well. The defense was, I mean, coming in, obviously, wasn't that Alabama Roll Tide still just, you know,
They dominate. They used to
defense.
dominate people.
Yeah,
physically.
they're young. They've had some guys coming in and out. So obviously, do what you got to do. But LSU played. I mean, I think it's better LSU as opposed to bad.
I agree. I think that my takeaway was not that Alabama isn't a great team. It's that LSU is really good.
Yeah.
And that has obviously a lot to do with Joe Burrow. Do you think is he a lock for the Heisman, Jeremy?
I would say so at this point. You know, like one of the biggest measures in like huge games like these is, can your quarterback, 1, make plays, and 2, take care of the ball? And he did both of those things. I mean, he had a 91.9 QBR, 393 yards, only, what did he go, 31 for 39.
Yeah, he
tore that game up. And I mean, one of the biggest things for these types of games, you know, both teams are pretty even, I would say, in player talent. You know, a lot of these players were recruited by both schools.
Yeah.
So
don't see that clip.
I did.
That clip where the LSU players would go up to the Alabama recruits that sitting in the stands and say, "You're going to the wrong school."
Yeah, you need to come play with us.
It is quite the clip. It's quite.
So I mean, obviously,
I love that stuff.
Obviously, some bad blood between these two schools, but I mean, it's really about capitalizing on the turnovers, which they did, and really just keeping momentum in your favor. And I think Joe Burrow, even though he kind of regressed a little bit in the second half, that fourth quarter he turned it back on and led his team to victory. And I think that with that alone, beating Alabama, one of the
in
best,
Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, in Tuscaloosa.
Which is not easy.
Easily one of the
not.
biggest games of the season. I think as long as he keeps it up, the rest of the season doesn't have like a 6-interception game.
Stays
Even
healthy.
then, he might still win.
Even then, honestly.
I think they've played 5 top 10 teams. At the time they played them, they were top 10.
Mm-hmm.
They won all of them. Joe Burrow's played great in all of them. And I want to give to show some love to a guy who, Ed Orgeron has become my personal favorite coach in college football. And people look at him, they hear him talk, and they think, oh, this guy, you know, he's a motivator, but he's not like a tactician. And that's fine. I think self-awareness is key, especially as a coach. You need to know what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. And in the offseason, he went out and said, our offense is way too outdated. They've been playing football in the 1980s on offense at LSU. How long has it been since they had a guy at quarterback who's like, that's the guy? Mm-hmm. Jamarcus Russell in like the mid-2000s. Yes, Mettenberger was okay. But it's
Jamarcus Russell, he who should not be named.
Yeah. LSU has been at a deficit with their passing attack for ages. And Ed Orgeron, a lot of people laughed at LSU when they went with him anyway. People didn't think he was good enough to be a head coach. He said, enough is enough, and he went out and he hired the New Orleans Saints passing game coordinator, which has meant everything to Joe Burrow. It's meant everything to their entire offense. LSU always has a stable of great receivers. I mean, as far back as you can remember, Odell and Jarvis Landry were there together, Early Doucette. There's a long list of them that I can't remember off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. And they've never had a functioning passing game to get those playmakers the ball. But Ed Orgeron had the foresight and the self-awareness to say, hey, what we're doing isn't working. Let me go do something else. As a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, like we just talked about, I understand how valuable it is for a coach to understand and adapt to a situation. And Ed Orgeron's done that. And he deserves all the credit in the world for doing it.
And to be fair to Ed, he probably said like, oh yeah, we don't have enough going on right.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
You are killing this voice.
Yeah, you're doing a really good Coach O impression. I would love to see this game happen again. I know you would too, Van, because that would mean
neutral field. We're winning Roll Tide.
Yeah,
and I mean like we've talked about before the show, LSU wins out. They play in the. If they play in the SEC championship
probably
game,
Georgia.
Probably Georgia. If they lose that game, 3-1 loss, SEC schools, who's out?
Georgia.
Georgia.
But they just beat LSU.
Georgia's out because they're the worst team. I'm not saying they're a bad team. They're the worst team out of the 3.
I think that is the one situation where Alabama's out. If if LSU goes to the SEC championship game, Georgia beats them, not in a game-winning field goal type win, but if they beat them by 10 or more, you can't leave Georgia out of the college football playoff. They're the SEC champs. They just beat LSU, and LSU beat Alabama. So I mean, I don't think that you can take out Georgia, the SEC champ.
Here's the thing: 'cause whoever they match up to, they're gonna get blown out. They're gonna lose.
The one good thing that might come out of this, because obviously in that situation, there's gonna be one team that everyone, no matter who you pick, there's gonna be half of the fan base of college football is gonna be pissed off.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And I think the only good thing that's coming out of this is that I think we might see an 18 playoff sometime soon.
Yes, sir.
Especially if Alabama is left out, they're not going to have that.
Here's the thing. I firmly believe Alabama is one of the 4 best teams in college football. They currently don't have the resume for me to justify that. I'm just going based off eye test.
They are.
I think they are. But if say this situation that you're presenting plays itself out.
I could argue that Texas played LSU just as good as Alabama.
I don't know that you can do like the transitive property where like this team played this team like this and that means this. Like that's usually kind of dangerous.
Every Saturday is different.
Yeah. But if Georgia wins, if say that scenario presents itself where LSU wins out, they get to the SEC championship game and they play Georgia on the other side and Georgia somehow wins. That means Georgia is your SEC champion with 1 loss, but their 1 loss is at home against South Carolina, whereas Alabama's 1 loss is at home against the number 1 team in the country. I have no idea which way the committee would go. Actually, no, I do have an idea which way the committee would go, and that would be with Georgia. I think Georgia would be in based off the committee's criteria.
Clemson a couple years ago lost to Pitt, and they still made it.
It's a little different.
Yeah,
a little different. It's not apples to apples here. They're different situations.
Pitt was not a good team that year.
No, but they don't have Alabama and LSU in their conference.
Basically, the point I'm just trying to make is I think the committee really values those championships. The SEC championship, the ACC championship.
In my opinion, they should not. This is where I'm like torn here because not everybody has the same circumstances.
Exactly. I agree.
Alabama plays in the SEC West with LSU and Auburn and A&M. And
it's too many extenuating circumstances.
Yeah,
like
Georgia.
Too many factors.
Georgia gets to play in the SEC East, where their competition every year is a decent Florida program.
Exactly. And I mean, I think
Vanderbilt.
Yes.
And I think the opposite of you. I think even though Georgia lost to South Carolina early in the season, I think it's a "what have you done for me lately" kind of situation.
See, I don't like that either.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the year, you got to take the teams that are playing the best football at the end of the year. Yes.
Do you? Shouldn't it be a body of work thing, like an entire resume?
I don't think we should punish teams for playing good.
When you lose, should not matter to me. When you lose, it does. I agree. It does, and conference championships matter. I just think that's the fault in the criteria for picking college football playoff teams.
And I mean, I don't know. If Alabama wanted to be in the college football playoff, they should have won on Saturday.
So who's your 4? We're gonna get the playoff rankings tonight. Who is your 4 before
unbiased.
we move on?
For this week or for at the end of the year?
We'll say for this. Do both.
Okay,
who's your
so
4
for
this
week, I'm going with Alabama. Or not Alabama. Alabama's unfortunately gonna be 5. Yeah, you know.
Van's gonna speak it into existence.
But hey, if there are 4, best believe I will be back on everybody's social media that say otherwise. But I believe Alabama's gonna be 5. 4, I think 4. I think Georgia may jump. I think Georgia may jump in there, and then Clemson, Ohio State, and LSU.
Jeremy?
So obviously you got to put LSU 1, right? Followed by Ohio State, Clemson. 4, that's when it's a toughie because it's like you got all these 1-loss teams, and it's like, which I mean I personally don't think that Minnesota is going to jump up to number 4, even though they just beat Penn State.
Oh, heavens no.
I mean, Penn State was number 4. They beat them in a pretty good game for them. I still think the committee puts maybe Georgia at 4, Alabama at 5, or flipped. Alabama at 4, Georgia at 5.
Alabama could be 6, and then Oregon could be 5.
I don't think how much they love Alabama.
They might put them at 5. Give them a pass.
I would say they keep Alabama at 4 just for the fact that they lost to the number 1 team in the nation.
Yeah.
So you got LSU, you got Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, and then just the list of one-loss teams.
So your top 4 is Alabama's in your top 4 because they're in my top 4 as well.
For right now, like I said, the only situation where I don't see them making the playoffs is in that situation where the SEC championship.
Where Georgia is your SEC champion.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think my 4 is similar to Jeremy's as well. I think it's going to be tough for Alabama to get in, although I'm a believer in get the 4 best teams in, and in my opinion, they're one of the 4 best teams. They just have to justify that at some point.
At the end of the
No
year,
love for Oregon.
This week,
no love
who
for
they
Oregon.
played? They haven't played anybody. They
Anyway,
played Bo Nix. We talked about Bo Nix last
Yeah,
week.
this is y'all are listening and watching No Cap. Y'all stick with us. We'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help. And slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to No Cap. This segment, we're going to get into some of the NFL games on the upcoming slate. But first, I need to introduce our newest member of the show, Roger Ancona. Roger's going to be picking some games with us. And we're gonna jump right into this thing with an AFC North clash between Mason Rudolph and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And who's that guy that plays quarterback for the Browns? What's his name again?
Spurgeon Wynn.
Spurgeon Wynn. Tavares Jackson. No, Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. Who we taking in this game? What's the score and why? Roger, you go ahead and get started.
I'm gonna take the Steelers by.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go by multiple possessions.
Wow.
I have never been a Brown believer. Even last year, I think it was kind of like manufactured success. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I just feel like they're kind of riding the hot streak of like new quarterback, new coach, like everything's kind of pretty. Well, they fired Hugh Jackson, but the Steelers. I don't love the Steelers either, but I just think the Browns are just bad. Just to be honest.
The way that the Steelers are playing defense and the way the Browns are playing offense is like fire and gasoline. If you're a Browns fan,
Right.
the Steelers are forcing turnovers at will. I think Minka Fitzpatrick has been tremendous.
Who thought he was gonna play that well?
Yeah, he's got like 7 turnovers already. He's only been there for a handful of games.
Yeah,
so
he's been really good.
That being said, the Browns are playing at home. I don't want to pick the Browns.
Don't pick the Browns.
I don't either, but I'm leaning towards
when
the Browns.
has picking the Browns ever worked out?
I'm telling you, I've never been a believer in the offseason paper champions, and that's what the Browns are. They're
are.
everybody's favorite team, and they have done nothing but lay an
their
egg on
roster.
offense. Baker has regressed so significantly. They've been unable to get newly acquired Odell Beckham involved in things.
That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for him to have his breakout
That's your
game.
man's. You love Odell, right?
I love
We're
Odell.
like 3 more games away from being like Odell might be washed.
Ooh.
Let's just throw
Okay.
that out.
Don't tell
Odell's
Justine.
not washed.
Don't tell Justine
He's
that.
wasting his prime, though. I can tell you that much.
I
He
will
cut his hair off, he cut off
go.
his powers.
I will go with the Browns. I
he
think
was good in college with
the way the
hair short.
Steelers are winning is it generally creates like high variance results. Like it's hard to count on turnovers all the time. Maybe when you're playing the Browns, it's not. But I'll go with the Browns at home. I'll say 21-17.
Wait, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Really?
Exactly.
Great minds think alike.
All
So
right, let's go Bills Dolphins.
yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to Bills Dolphins then.
Jeremy's Dolphins.
The Dolphins have won 2 games in a row.
Wow.
If I would have
That's
said
more than
that,
the Cowboys.
if I would have said that
Wow.
a couple
Shocked.
weeks
I'm upset
ago,
at
if
them
I would have
too.
predicted that a couple weeks ago, I would have been drug tested. But here we are. They won 2 games in a row. They're coming off wins against the Colts. And who was before the Colts? I'm drawing a blank here. Anyway, it's not important.
Not
The
important.
Jets.
Jets,
Okay,
yeah.
excuse me. Thank you. The Jets.
Vans Jets.
And now they're going to host the Buffalo Bills, who, in my humble opinion, are fraudulent.
And they're not a good team.
Yeah,
They're-
they're-
I don't
Neither
care
one
what
of
the
them are
Bills'
good.
record ever is. They're a 3-win team
They are.
through history.
The AFC is the Patriots, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and a bunch of other teams who
Even
That's
aren't
the
very
literally
good.
Chiefs
it.
might be a pretender too. I'm not ready to go in on the
They've
No.
Chiefs.
been on shaky ground. We'll get to them here in
We'll
just
get
a
to
minute.
them. We'll get to them.
So I will take in this game. Do I want to be bold and pick the Dolphins? I think I do. I'm
Don't
gonna go
watch this game
Dolphins.
if you like offense.
If you like football,
If you like football.
stay away from this one. I'm gonna go Dolphins 20-13.
You're taking the Dolphins.
I'm taking
I would
Miami
take
Dolphins
the
at
Bills.
home.
I don't even think it'd be that high of a score.
No, it's going to be like 9-6.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go,
Look at the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the Bills winning 4-1 over the Dolphins. The Dolphins are gonna find out a way to score just an extra point.
4-1.
And the Bills will have 2 safeties, and they will win this game.
Okay, so there you have it. Rodgers going 4-1
No,
Bills.
realistically, if you just look at the talent on the
Find a way
Dolphins
to score
roster, it's just a depleted team.
Yeah.
The Bills aren't great either, but the Bills do have some playmakers.
On defense especially.
On defense especially. So I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills 17-10. I'm going to take the Bills.
Okay. Broncos at Vikings. The
We all have
Cowboys.
Vikings.
Our
Vikings,
Cowboys were
yeah.
victims of the Vikings. We know how good of a team they are.
I think we all
take
The
the
Broncos
Vikings, yeah.
are
Pretty
in
quickly.
really bad shape.
They might get Cam Newton. but
Yeah,
that's
I'm gonna
for
go
another discussion.
Vikings 28, Broncos 10.
I'm going to go Broncos 24. And
Broncos or Vikings?
I'm going to go Vikings 24, and I'm going to go Broncos 9.
Okay, Justine.
I said I would do Vikings 21. I'm gonna do Broncos 9.
Okay, and now we are at Cowboys at Lions.
Oh my God.
I don't think Matt Stafford's going to play because that will ultimately
Neither
sway
do
the
I.
pick that I make in this game. What's weird is we went into looking at the if I'm going back to last week, I looked at the Vikings and the Lions upcoming games and I said, I feel good about the Vikings at home. I feel not so good about the Lions on the road.
The Lions
Maybe it's gonna
always
be
play
switching
the
it
Cowboys
around.
well.
They do.
They do.
They make
Everybody plays the Cowboys
They
well.
won 2
Everybody.
games in a season,
Maybe
and
because
one
they're
of those wins was over the Cowboys in Dallas.
Everybody plays the Cowboys like it's Super Bowl weekend.
Roger is just
I am scarred
digging
by the
up
Roy
some
Williams trade since then.
the fleecing of Roy Williams.
I'm always gonna have hope and just say the Cowboys no matter who they play.
I'd
so
probably
I'm
do the
gonna
same
take
thing.
them.
Every week I take the cheese, and I believe that this week's gonna be different, and it never is.
Maybe this week will be.
You know what? You're right. Count me in. No, I look. If Matt Stafford's not playing, which I don't think he's going to, he's got broken bones in his back. They're 3-5.
He's fine.
If they're 3-5 and your franchise quarterback has broken bones in his back, I think the safe bet is probably say, we maybe don't need to play him.
Yeah.
And in that case, I'll take the Cowboys. The Cowboys' offense has been pretty good this year. The Lions' defense has struggled the past couple weeks. I go Cowboys 31, Lions 20.
You keep stealing. I was gonna say Cowboys 30, but I was gonna give the Lions 17.
17.
As much as I want the Cowboys to win because I am a Cowboys stan, the Lions just for some reason they just have
They're
the
scary.
Cowboys numbers.
Yeah,
over
they're
the year.
scary.
There's something about seeing the Lions on the schedule where you're like, that's a win, but it's not. With that said, I will still take my Dallas Cowboys to win 21-14. I think it'll be a very close game, but I think the Cowboys will pull away late. They will have their traditional bad first half, but I think they'll get it together. I think through the strength of future MVP Dak Prescott. Not this year.
Ooh, spicy.
Not this year, like 2 years
Spicy,
from now,
spicy.
spicy. I'm going to take the Cowboys 21-14.
I see Van over there shaking his
over
head.
Jeremy's Lions.
Okay.
Jeremy is a fan of every team.
Yeah, Jeremy's favorite team is whoever's playing the Cowboys that week.
Literally.
Yeah. Okay, next up we got Falcons at Panthers. Got an NFC South matchup. Falcons are coming off a really impressive win in New Orleans against the Saints. I think it's 26-10, something like that. And they're going to go play old boy Kyle Allen and the Carolina Panthers. This is one of those games that every week is going to pop up on the schedule that I'm probably not going to see a minute of.
Yeah, does anybody care about this?
Let's
The
get to a
Panthers
good
are
game.
technically in the
Can we just hit
playoff
this
race.
one quick? I'm not without a score. I'm just gonna take the Panthers.
I'm gonna take the Panthers. Yeah.
I'll go Panthers as well. Okay, Jags.
Those are 2 fraudulent teams. I just want to say
The Panthers are they're making the most of what they got.
They're making what they can work,
Yeah.
and then the Falcons, they're just serial underperformers.
Yeah,
they
Dan
did
Quinn
great
is-
last week, but they're gonna
Falcon
Falcon it up.
it
They're gonna
up.
run 3 screenplays. And
They're going to Georgia sports all over the place
Yeah,
and
so-
lose the game.
Yeah, if you're a Falcons fan, probably don't do that.
Yeah.
And then,
Jags Colts next up. Who we like in this game? Is Brissett going to play? If Brissett plays, the pick is easy for me. But Nick Foles is back.
the God.
Nick Foles, you're a Nick Foles guy. I know.
No,
Jeremy
but,
right here,
but
my
Nick
right
Foles,
shoulder
he's a
definitely
winner.
is.
I mean, I could say that about the guy.
He can play quarterback.
This
well
is like
in
another
stretches.
game that, like, does anybody care
Nope.
about this? Like,
Without
are
a
they
score,
they might
I'm
as well
gonna
just have
take the
this.
Jags.
Is this in London? I feel like this would be a London game. Like,
It definitely
Jaguars,
would be a
Colts in England.
No
give
one's
me
gonna
the
watch.
Colts are at home, coming off a loss to Miami. I think
Oh, they
Brissett will
did lose to
play,
Miami.
given the injury. I think it's just like a mild ankle injury. So I'll go with the Colts at home. I'm gonna give it a high scoring game too. I'm gonna say 34-28 Colts.
I'll take the same. I'll take the Colts.
Another
28 to 14,
bleh
whatever.
game on the schedule.
That's a pretty bland game. You know?
Jets at Redskins.
Oh, wow.
Who
Oh my God.
Is more dysfunctional? Who
Right.
is more incompetent?
The Redskins. It's
The Redskins are going to out incompetent the Jets.
Yeah. So like this is a game of like who can mess it up the most.
Yeah.
And I'm always gonna take the Redskins to mess it up most.
Yeah.
They have the worst owner, probably in the league.
James Dolan would like a word.
No, in the league. In the
Oh,
NFL.
in the NFL. Okay, I thought you were going to say in sports.
Daniel Snyder. That team is bad.
He's never going to get it right. Like, that's a once proud franchise. Their stadium gets overrun by opposing teams' fans every week.
And I'm not going to call them the Redskins, actually. I'm just going to say the football team from Washington.
Okay, the football team from Washington.
Okay.
I think Washington, you know, what the funny thing is they have a lot of Alabama guys on their defense, like 7 or 8 guys.
They have a good defensive front.
Their whole defense is like from Alabama.
Jonathan Allen's a stud.
That's a bad game.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Jets 21-13.
Justine?
I'm going to take the Jets. I don't even
then
think
Dwayne
it'll be
Haskins
that
is
high
gonna
of a
be
score.
Dwayne Haskins has
Dwayne
not
Haskins is not
exactly.
great. I'm an Ohio State fan, and I remember watching him play and not thinking he was better than a lot of guys that have played.
Yeah,
at Ohio State, who haven't been great either.
He has not played
He's
well.
not
I mean,
awful.
it's still early. It's still early. He can turn it around.
Do
but it's
not
gonna,
be surprised if the Redskins draft a quarterback in this upcoming draft.
It's not been a.
Think
That
so?
would be interesting.
I think if they get a top 5 pick and
Wasn't it?
Tua is there or Justin Herbert is there, I think they would pull the trigger and cut the cord
Joe
with Dwayne
Burrow?
Haskins.
Wasn't it management that was super in on Dwayne Haskins? But
It was
the
management.
coaching
Jay Gruden
staff.
was not. Jay Gruden is gone, but I can't imagine that if you think a better quarterback is there, if you think Joe Burrow is there, if you think Justin Herbert is your guy, you're a Tua guy, I don't think you can pass that up. You know, the Redskins always try to make these splashy moves. I think they need to just get the important positions.
Remember when
correct.
they signed Albert Hainsworth
Yes,
from
they
like
did. And he
with
wasn't
like
even that technique of a
a
defensive tackle.
$1 and nothing
Yes.
worked for them?
I remember when he like stepped on somebody's face.
Yeah,
Shout out to
Andre
him.
Gerard. Yeah, I remember.
To save time, let's keep going, but let's just leave out scores.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Saints Bucks.
Saints Bucks.
Taking the
Give
Saints.
me obviously the Saints.
I think we're all taking the Saints.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. Texans Ravens.
That's
This
going
is
to
the
be a
fun one.
good game.
This is the one I
Two
think
young
most
franchise
people.
quarterbacks.
Who do you like? Which quarterback do you like more?
Deshaun Watson.
I like Deshaun Watson. more.
Yeah.
Is he over
100%.
there nodding his head?
I like Lamar Jackson a lot. That is not a disparaging.
I
remark to
was
Lamar Jackson.
I was a big Lamar Jackson guy coming out of school.
You were a Lamar Jackson truther.
Yeah, I was definitely a Lamar Jackson truther, and I caught a lot of heat for it after his first year where he didn't throw the ball very well.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Year 2, I'm definitely taking a victory lap. I will say this. I would probably prefer Deshaun Watson because he's more.
Exactly.
Deshaun Watson is a blast to watch. In terms of, like,
These guys are both. A blast
he's
to watch.
like.
Yeah.
If you're gonna watch one game this weekend as a neutral fan, that is the game.
This
to
is the
watch,
one you
in
want.
my opinion.
Deshaun Watson to me, and he's bigger, but he's like middle class Russell Wilson. Like
He's very good.
he's not Russell Wilson, but he's really good, and he's very similar.
And for the next
It's
game,
a
I think we're all gonna
knockoff
take the
version.
Niners.
Who do we? Well, hold on. We hadn't made our way
You
through the
didn't pick
picks
it.
just yet. Texans, Ravens. Who are we
Oh, you're
picking?
right.
I want
right.
to say Texans, obviously, because of Deshaun Watson, but it's going to be Ravens.
Give me the Ravens
because
at
it's
home.
at home,
I'm gonna
yeah.
take
Give me the
Ravens
Ravens
as
at
well.
home.
We're all in the Ravens.
Van is unhappy. Okay, moving on. We have Cardinals at 49ers. I think we're all going
Niners.
49ers with this one. Bengals at Raiders. I think we're all going Raiders.
Raiders.
Patriots at Eagles.
I'm gonna take the Pats. Please, Pats. Please.
Yeah.
Tom,
Please.
We're all going
Jeez,
to take the
please.
Patriots.
Please, Pate.
I'm not 100% sold on it with Philly coming off a bye. I think Doug Peterson's going to have something cooked
Doug
up.
Peterson
for
is not a
They're
good
gonna, I
coach.
still
I'm
think they're
gonna
going to have
throw
the
that
bye.
out.
Really?
I'm gonna throw that out there. So, everybody gets a lot of flack, or Bill Belichick gets a lot of flack for losing to Eli twice. It was more embarrassing to lose to Doug Peterson and the Eagles.
Wow.
Is that a hot
wow, that is a scorching hot take.
I'm going to
I
hope
think,
for a blowout, too.
I think
I'm gonna
Doug.
sneak that hot take in the last minute. Of the
Okay,
show.
give me the score then. If you're saying blowout, give me the score.
Okay,
You gotta give me
so-
a
Oh, you're
number.
thinking blowout?
Yeah, I'm going to hope for it.
In-
I'm going to speak it into existence
Speak
right
it into
now.
existence.
So we're going to say that it's going to be
Patriots 97.
104. No. I'm going to go really high. I'm going to say Patriots are going to get 42.
Whoa.
No, I'm just going to say we're going to speak this into existence.
Okay.
And I'm going to give the Eagles 28.
Oh, high scoring
Wow.
games just in general.
Okay, Roger, what you got?
I'm gonna go Patriots 28 to Eagles 10. I think it's gonna be. I think that Patriots defense. I don't think Carson Wentz is very good either. I think
Wow.
that Patriots defense. I mean, obviously that historic first 6 or 7 weeks of the season. I think they're gonna rattle him.
He's
I
a
think-
fraud.
I think if the Philly crowd starts going, if that game starts to kind of get out of hand, if that game starts to get out of hand early, it could get really ugly for Carson Wentz. And that's a team of pretenders. Their secondary has a lot of young players that are not developing. They really thought that they were going to get all these guys are going to turn into great players. They haven't. I think this is going to be a breakout game for Tom Brady this season, who's been kind of quiet. I think he's going to have a great game, and I'm going to take the Patriots by quite a bit.
I'll take the Pats in a close one. I'll go 27-24.
And this is not to say that the Cowboys are good.
No, they're not.
The Eagles are just worse.
Okay, I think the Cowboys ultimately get in the playoffs because the Eagles also aren't very good. In a matchup of frauds and pretenders.
Franchise quarterbacks.
Yeah, the Rams, Jared Goff and the Rams will host Mitchell Trubisky and the Chicago Bears.
He's so bad. They took him over Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, but that's for another day.
Who are we taking?
I'm going to take the Rams.
You take the Rams at home?
Oh, the Rams offensive line is horrific.
It's really
They don't
bad.
have draft picks.
I don't know. I feel like
I'm
this
gonna
is
go with
a hard
the Bears.
one. I would say I'm gonna take the Bears.
I'm gonna go with the Bears. I think the Rams are on the verge of breaking.
I'm going to take the Rams just because I think their defense is going to force some turnovers.
I do too.
Against
Or
Mitchell
excuse me, the
Trubisky.
Bears. I think the Bears
their
will do that.
offensive line is really bad. They have basically, I don't know. Their future is looking very bleak for the Rams, but I'm going to take them next week.
Okay, and then the final game of the week, we'll have Chiefs-Chargers on Monday Night Football. Who do we like in this game and
Chiefs.
why?
I'm going to take the
taking
Chargers.
Chiefs. Really?
Yeah,
The Chargers
at home.
invent ways to lose it's incredible
Yes.
that they have such a skill to find a way to lose a game. Every week I flip on a Chargers game and good old Phil Rivers is down 6 points and has to drive the length of the field with no timeouts to tie or win the game. It seems like, and they always come up just short. They lose in the most heartbreaking way
They're like
imaginable.
the West Coast Cowboys.
Yeah,
Literally.
in a
yeah,
lot of
they
ways.
really are.
But I'm going to take them.
I'm going to take the Chiefs in a very close game, like I said, because
Yeah, I
the
think it'll be
Chargers are going
close.
to invent some creative way
They'll lose right at the end.
to lose this game to a division rival at home. Okay, guys, I think that's about all the time that we have. I appreciate y'all joining me. I appreciate everybody that's followed along, listened to us, watching us. This was the second episode of No Cap. Hopefully we'll be coming out with more content for you soon, so thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.